I cheated on my husband with my boss and lost everything: my job, my kids, and the only man who ever loved me. I'm writing this because I need someone to know how completely I destroyed my family. 3 weeks ago, my husband found the Airbnb receipt on my laptop. The cabin I rented with my boss. The same weekend I told him I was at a conference in Denver. We'd been married 8 years. 2 kids, ages 5 and 7. He trusted me completely. Never questioned the late nights, the emergency weekend trips, the way I started dressing better for work. He'd pack my suitcase, kiss me goodbye, tell me how proud he was of my career. I told myself it was just career advancement. David was promoting people left and right, and I deserved recognition after being passed over twice for women who clearly weren't as qualified. It started with drinks after client meetings 6 months ago. David would compliment my presentations, touch my shoulder when he laughed, stay late to review my work when everyone else had gone home. My friends said I was lucky to have such an attractive boss who saw my potential. They'd show me Instagram stories of successful women with powerful men and say I was settling. My husband worked construction, came home tired and dirty, fell asleep on the couch during movies. David wore $1,000 suits and talked about European business trips, about taking me to conferences in Paris. The first time David kissed me in his office, I should have stopped it. Instead, I kissed back and told myself it meant nothing. Just stress relief. Just appreciation for finally being valued. Then came the hotel room during the Atlanta conference. I called my husband that night and listened to him read bedtime stories to our kids over FaceTime while David showered 10 feet away. My daughter showed me her loose tooth through the screen while I sat naked in another man's hotel room. I became a master liar. Deleted texts immediately. Created fake conference agendas with made-up workshops. Practiced stories in my car before walking inside, rehearsing answers to questions my husband might ask. My kids would run to hug me when I got home from my business trips, and I'd hold them tight, smelling David's cologne still lingering in my hair, knowing I'd just spent the weekend in bed with another man. The guilt should have stopped me. Instead, I convinced myself I deserved this happiness after 8 years of suburban mediocrity. My husband would ask about my trips. I'd show him fake photos I'd stolen from conference websites, tell him elaborate stories about networking events I'd never attended. He'd listen intently, ask follow-up questions, tell me how proud he was that I was finally getting the recognition I deserved. The pride in his eyes made me sick, but not sick enough to stop. The cabin was supposed to be our planning retreat for Q4. I researched it for weeks, found one with a hot tub and no neighbors, 4 hours from anyone who might recognize us. Told my husband it was a leadership seminar for high-potential employees. Even practiced my fake agenda in the mirror, memorized fake workshop titles and keynote speakers. I was so proud of my planning. So careful with every detail except the one that mattered. David and I spent 3 days pretending we were a real couple. Cooking breakfast together, walking hand in hand through the woods, talking about running away together. He said his wife didn't understand his ambition. I said my husband had gotten complacent, stopped seeing me as more than a mother and housekeeper. We built our fantasy on the ruins of our real lives, making plans we both knew we'd never follow through on. Sunday morning, I almost didn't want to leave. The real world meant lies and scheduling and sneaking around. At the cabin, I could pretend I was the woman who deserved this successful, charming man. I took one last look at our messy bed, at the champagne glasses on the nightstand, and drove home to my family with David's promises echoing in my ears. When I walked in the door Sunday night, my husband was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open. The Airbnb confirmation email stared back at me. 2 guests, 1 bed, romantic getaway package, hot tub access. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just looked at me like he'd never seen me before, like I was a stranger who'd somehow gotten into his house. "The kids are at my mom's," he said quietly. "Pack a bag." I tried to explain, to lie, to beg. He held up his hand and shook his head. 8 years of marriage, and he wouldn't even let me speak. That's when I knew there was no coming back from this. No amount of tears or promises would fix what I'd broken. I'd gambled everything on a fantasy and lost. The divorce papers came a week later. No fault, but he was seeking full custody. His lawyer had already frozen our joint accounts. The photos from the cabin somehow made it to HR within days. Someone had seen David's car there, recognized the license plate. We were both terminated immediately. 8 years with the company, gone in a 15-minute meeting with security escorting me out while co-workers watched from their cubicles. My kids wouldn't look at me during supervised visits. My 7-year-old asked why daddy cries now, why mommy couldn't come home, why their family was broken. My 5-year-old drew pictures of our family with me scribbled out in black crayon, replacing me with stick figures labeled New Mommy. The court-appointed supervisor took notes every time I tried to explain myself. Everything I said sounded like excuses, like manipulation. David ghosted me the day we got fired. Blocked my number, avoided the coffee shops we used to meet at, acted like our 6-month affair had never happened. His wife probably never even knew. I lost everything for a man who disappeared the second it got complicated. The other women at work wouldn't speak to me. I was the cautionary tale whispered about in bathrooms, the woman who threw away everything for nothing. I had to move back in with my parents at 34. Sleep in my childhood bedroom surrounded by participation trophies while my ex-husband tucked our children into beds I used to kiss them goodnight in. The house we bought together, the morning coffee ritual, the inside jokes, the life we'd built over 8 years, all gone because I thought I deserved something shinier than the man who'd loved me unconditionally. My friends stopped calling. They'd seen the social media posts, heard the rumors, didn't want to be associated with what I'd become. At school pickup, other mothers turned away. My reputation in our small town was destroyed. The woman who threw away her family for her boss. The mom whose kids now lived with daddy full-time because she couldn't keep her legs closed. That's what they called me at the grocery store, at the gas station, everywhere I went. The worst part wasn't losing my husband. It was watching my children realize their mother was the villain in their story. My daughter's teacher called to say she'd been acting out, asking why some mommies leave their families. My son asked his father if mommy was coming home for Christmas. The answer was no. It would always be no. 6 months later, I still reach for my phone to text him goodnight, forgetting he blocked me everywhere. I drive past our old house and see the swing set he built still in the backyard. My daughter's bike with the training wheels I taught her to ride still parked by the garage. Another family will make memories there now. My ex-husband is already dating someone new, a kindergarten teacher who's kind to my kids. I applied for jobs across the state, but references are hard when you were fired for sleeping with your boss. I work retail now at a chain store 40 miles away, serving customers who sometimes recognize me and whisper to their friends. The woman from the news. Everyone knows. Small towns don't forget, don't forgive. David never reached out. Not once. The great love affair that cost me everything lasted exactly as long as it was convenient for him. I traded a man who loved me for one who used me. I traded stability for excitement and got neither. He's probably moved on to his next victim, some other married woman who thinks she deserves better. My kids are adjusting to their new normal without me. They have bedtime routines I'm not part of, inside jokes I don't get, a stepmother figure who shows up to their school plays while I sit in my childhood bedroom scrolling through photos of the life I threw away. That's the real punishment. Not the divorce or the job loss or the shame. It's knowing my children are better off without me. I wanted more and lost everything. Some choices don't get second chances. Some betrayals can't be undone. Some mothers don't deserve to come home. I am living proof that the grass isn't greener. It's dead on both sides when you burn down your own yard.